South America is a long triangular shaped continent. If you see, it is roughly a triangular shaped continent, right? It is 2/3 the size of Africa, that is, it is smaller than Africa, but it is 6 times the size of India. Pacific coastal strip that is present, this is one physical division. So this basically lies between the Pacific Ocean and the Andes mountain range. Now these regions, because these regions are also centers for a lot of important minerals also. So mining activities also go on here. So the minerals that are found here are, that is Lake Titicaca. It is basically not associated only with one country, it is associated with 2 countries, and that is why it becomes important for UPSC, because they pause the video, check it for yourself and see if you can manage it. Hello aspirants, welcome to PW Only IAS. I'm here with another lecture from the mapping series. Today we're going to cover the continent of South America. We've already done 3 continents. We have done Australia, we have done Antarctica, we have done North America. Now this is the next continent. Please remember again, make the notes properly. Whatever I have drawn on the board, make those maps yourself. I know that very well. In the initial phases when you draw, it becomes a little difficult. But once you make it, once your notes are made, it will be very easy for you to revise. And remember, multiple questions come in the preliminary examination from these chapters, especially the mapping section. If 4 to 5 question comes, if minimum, on a minimum basis, can you just imagine that can change your result completely? So please remember this. Do each and everything which I'm telling you in this section very properly. Make the notes and revise them. Let's begin. This is the QR code for the Telegram account, where you can basically find these PDFs also. Along with it, a lot of information on the subject of geography, anthropology optional, and along with it, society in social justice and civil services preparation in general. Let's begin. South America. Now please see, as I've already shown you, we have drawn this world map by hand, and this is a basic representation. Now if I want to study South America, you will see there are a lot of continents here. North America, Europe, Africa, Antarctica, Australia, then Asia. Over here is your South America, right? Now this location, if I want to study even in more detail, you can see in the next map the precise location of South America. Please remember that I told you in the previous lectures also in a similar pattern. All those countries and land masses which are lying above the equator are a part of the northern hemisphere. Those below that are a part of the southern hemisphere. All those parts or land masses on the western part of the prime meridian are referred to as a part of the western hemisphere. Those on the eastern part are referred to as a part of the eastern hemisphere. Now if you see South America, now this is something very interesting here. Firstly, we can very well understand that it is on the west of the prime meridian. So it is basically in the western hemisphere. There is no doubt in that. It's completely obvious. But when you see certain parts of South America are in the northern hemisphere, but majority of it is in the southern hemisphere. So that means it lies in both the hemispheres. So we can say that it lies in the northwestern as well as the southwestern hemispheres. This is a precise location. Now this can be asked as a statement in your preliminary examination in particular. So you should be very well aware. Now, having marked the location where it is basically, so let us see one more thing. From the oceanic perspective also, you have the Pacific Ocean on the western side and the Atlantic Ocean on the eastern side. This is also something that you should be very well aware of. We will be covering this in the lecture coming forward. Let's begin. Now, this is the map of South America. Now, we will be dealing with all the physical dimensions. What I have done over here is, while explaining you the physical divisions, I have taken the human geography angle also along with it, so that you are able to comprehend it along with it, right? So let's begin. This is the equator. That means South America is cut by the equator as well as a Tropic of Capricorn. Now this is something very interesting, right? Now in UPSC, it is very obvious that they can ask you questions related to this also, which all countries are cut. We will be doing that also, don't worry. But these are the questions which have been asked in the past also, and in preliminary examination, very obviously they can ask you as one of the statements. In the PCS paper, very often they ask, because these countries which are cut by Tropic of Capricorn and all, these have been asked repeatedly in the previous years also, and PCS, multiple PCS like Uttarakhand PCS, UP PCS, all these exams, they generally ask these questions. So let's begin. Some basic information on South America. Now see, South America is a long triangular shaped continent. If you see, It is roughly a triangular shaped continent, right? It is 2/3 the size of Africa, that is, it is smaller than Africa, but it is 6 times the size of India. Now you can just imagine the massive size. It is 6 times the size of India. We obviously know that it is not one country. There are multiple countries, right? So there are 12 sovereign countries plus 2 dependent countries that are present. We'll be seeing them also. But this is huge. This is 6 times the size of India. It is the 4th largest continent. Again, you should remember that. I had already explained you in the previous lectures how to remember the order. It is bounded by the Caribbean Sea in the north, the Atlantic Ocean in the east, the Pacific Ocean in the west. Now see, many people basically consider it as, let us say, 14 countries, some say 13 countries. Please remember, let us mark it in a simple way, 14 countries, out of which 12 are sovereign and 2 are dependent. Because various books write various different statistics. So let us make it very clear. Let me mark it here. There are 14 countries, out of which 12 are sovereign. That means they have their independent existence. But there are 2 of them which are dependent, or let us say a territory of some other country, which we will see also, right? So this is a basic information that you should very well have. 14 countries, 12 sovereign and 2 dependent. Now, if I move ahead, these are the countries that are present. When I was talking about the dependent countries, please remember, the Falkland Islands is a territory of what? United Kingdom. Whereas the French Guiana is a territory of the France, the country, the sovereign country France. So these 2 are not sovereign countries as such of South America. That is why if we see, you can say 14 countries, you can say 12 countries also. So there are certain people who mention 13 countries also. Now please understand this categorization. When I had mentioned in the previous lecture, I had mentioned earlier 13 here. Because certain books, what they do is, they do not consider part of Falkland Island as a part of mainstream South America. So that is why what they do, they mention 13. Second, they might mention 12 because they might exclude the Falkland Island and the French Guiana because they are not sovereign. They are basically territories of United Kingdom and France. On the other hand, they might mention 14 as a whole. So please remember, whenever the question comes, the answer, the most precise answer which the NCERT uses is 14 countries as a whole, out of which 12 are sovereign and 2 are dependent. This is what is the precise answer of NCERT, which I have written over here also. But when you come across 13 countries, 12 countries, they are also not wrong because it basically depends upon the mechanism in which they have adopted while enlisting the countries. So please do not get confused in this particular case. Now comes all these countries that I have drawn over here. If you see, on the north is Venezuela, on the west is Colombia. If you come towards the eastern side, these are small countries. Over here, this is Guyana, this is Suriname, this is French Guiana, right? Over here, below Colombia, you have Ecuador, and below Ecuador, you have Peru. Now, below Peru, you have a Chile, a shape of a Chile, that is why it is known as Chile also. But this Chile is over here. If you move further towards the eastern side, you have this a huge country that is Argentina. Then you have Uruguay, you have Paraguay here, you have Bolivia, and this large country that is Brazil. Now, please remember, these all countries which you have read are very famous. Most of them are famous with respect to their football teams. You would have read, so football is really very famous in South America, right? So these are the countries that are present. Now, Falkland Islands, again repeating, Falkland Islands and French Guiana. French Guiana. These are dependent countries. That means they are not having an independent existence over here. They are dependent on French Guiana on France, Falkland Island on UK. So that is what is the basic thing that you should be well aware of, right? Now, the question comes, if there are 12 sovereign countries, as I mentioned, and 2 dependent countries, you can write it also here, plus 2 dependent. You've already seen. So this is what is the statistics for overall 14. Now the question can come, equator cuts which all countries of South America? Now if you see, If you see over here, equator is cutting over here. Just imagine this line is going equator. It is cutting Brazil. It is cutting Colombia. It is cutting Ecuador, right? This particular line. So let us see Colombia, Ecuador, and Brazil. Clear? So this can be asked in your preliminary examination. They can ask you which among the following countries basically which among the following countries are basically coming on the line of equator. So they will be mentioning 5-6 countries and you have to just mark 3. So this is something that you should be well aware when you are doing the mapping series, right? Next comes Tropic of Capricorn, because please remember, unless and until you have done or practiced such types of questions and done and analyze them while I'm doing the maps, you can manage them in the paper only in that case. Otherwise, if you assume that you haven't done the mapping well and you assume, okay, the equator is passing through which all countries, at that time, it is impossible to even analyze, because that time you need to have a perfect image of the map in your mind. If you haven't practiced it, you will not be able to do it, right? So, next question, Tropic of Capricorn cuts which all countries? Now see here. Now there are a lot of countries with the Tropic of Capricorn is cutting from here. Let's see. Chile, Argentina, Paraguay, and Brazil. So these are the 4 countries which basically the Tropic of Capricorn cuts. So you should be aware of 3 countries the equator is cutting, 4 countries the Tropic of Capricorn is cutting, right? Okay, let's move ahead. Please note it down, all of you. Now comes the physical divisions of South America. What I have done, as I have already told you, while doing the physical divisions, I have incorporated the elements of human geography, like the minerals, agriculture also, the population also, so that it becomes easier to comprehend along with the geographical aspect that you're doing. Now, if I want to divide, I have divided it into broadly 4 divisions. First, this is the Pacific Ocean, please remember. This side is the Pacific Ocean, this side is the Atlantic Ocean. There is this Pacific coastal strip that is present. This is one physical division. So this basically lies between the Pacific Ocean and the Andes mountain range, right? First feature is Pacific coastal strip. Then you have this longest mountain range, that is the Andes mountain range present over here. Yes, you have already studied in the physical geography lecture which I took the day before yesterday or before yesterday also, how these Andean mountains are created, what is the concept of plate tectonics and all. You will be analyzing them, right? And you must have understood by now what it basically means. So I would request you to, while you are doing the mapping series, do the physical geography series along with it. Then you have the central lowlands. These are the regions of central lowland which are marked in green. And the last part are the eastern highlands. Now the eastern highlands are not one continuous body, they are 3 parts. One in the southern part, one over here, and one over here. We will be doing this in detail, don't worry. So these are the 4 divisions. Pacific coastal strip we have done here. The Andes mountain range, we have seen here. The central lowland, this is a region of the central lowland. And then you have the eastern highlands, which we have seen in this map. Clear? So now remember one thing. Please draw this map, at least if not in an artistic manner, at least in a basic level, that you should be able to comprehend what you are drawing. And you should know these divisions, because please remember, why these mappings, especially with respect to these divisions, become important is, many times questions are asked where you have to apply the concepts, where you have to give examples, possibly by understanding these geographical division and its association with the human geographical angle, you can write the answers whenever the questions are asked. It is not necessary that the question has to be on South America in your mains examination. It can be something else also. But supposingly they ask you, analyze, there is a intricate relationship between the geography, the physical geography or the landscape, and the human activities. In that particular case, please remember, while you are mentioning various things, you can quote examples which I mentioned here. And for that matter, we have done in the previous lectures also. So do not think that merely doing a map is basically answering the queries of that particular chapter. No, it is a source and a means of knowledge which you can apply in various other questions when and where it is required, right? Okay. Next comes the first part. We are doing one by one all of them. Pacific coastal strip. Now this is what is a Pacific coastal strip. You know that I have drawn on the map also. It lies in the western part between the ocean. Now this ocean which I am referring to is what? The Pacific Ocean. This ocean is what? The Pacific Ocean. The Pacific Ocean, here lies what? The Pacific Ocean. Let us mark it. Here is the Pacific Ocean. Here's a Pacific Ocean, and you have the Andes here, as you have seen here. So between the Andes and the Pacific Ocean lies your Pacific coastal strip. Its width. Now, please remember the width, as you study the Indian coastal plains and all also, you will be realizing that the width continuously varies, right? Similarly, over here, you realize that the width of this Pacific coastal strip varies tremendously. In certain regions, it might go to 80 kilometers. In other regions, it might become as narrow as 8 kilometers. So the width continuously varies. Southwestern coast of the continent has voids which are deep inlets of the sea. That means the water basically enters in these voids. So these voids-like structures are present in the Pacific coastal strip. The climate over here is arid to semi-arid. It is because it is influenced by the cold Humboldt or the Peru current, which we will be doing in the oceanography, how it impacts the climate. So because of the cold current that is present, there are arid and semi-arid like conditions that are present close to the Pacific coastal strip. Not all, but major parts. Now, next thing that comes is these are densely populated. Why densely populated? Because you very well know that the coastal regions are centers for economic activities also, fishing also. So these regions are generally very densely populated. Densely populated, but remember, the regions where aridity is very high or it is very arid, the population density will be less. In other regions where let us say some harbor is possible, or let's say the climate is relatively better, over there in patches you can say that the density can be high. Not in the complete strip as such, but in patches. Rich fishing zones due to the Humboldt current. So now these regions are also centers for large fishing, and massive scale fishing is done here. So regions where fishing is done, those regions again become very, very important from the perspective of settlement also. So people will be basically setting up there. Slowly what happens, there will be small companies that set up for exporting, processing of the fishing and all. So that leads to, they act as magnets for people to come there and work. And this is how the population density of the regions also basically increase. This is the Pacific coastal strip that you should know. Now comes the Andes. Now see, this is a map that I have drawn of the Andes. We will be analyzing them in after few slides also. Now see, when we see these Andes, I had used the word Cordillera in the previous lectures also. You would have seen when I was teaching you North America, I said what Cordilleras basically mean that there are parallel mountain ranges and there are plateaus in between or along with them, right? So that is why in this particular region, you see along with the Andes, there are multiple almost parallel ranges. That is why this is known as Cordilleras. This range on the western side is known as Western Cordillera. Western Cordillera. This in the center is known as the Central Cordillera. This on the eastern is known as the Eastern Cordillera, right? These together are in a way form a range which is known as the Andes mountain range, right? Along with it, there are two important other mountain ranges also. This particular mountain range is known as Cordillera Merida, and over here it's Pacarana Mountains. So these are certain mountain ranges that you should be aware of. This can be asked in your examination. See, most of the cases, the questions that are asked are generally expect like Andes, or let us say Andes is present, Rockies is present in which country. Those are the questions which are generally asked in PCS level. But when they want to twist, let us say, or pull your leg, possibly what they can do is, the concept of Cordillera is associated with which among the following mountain ranges. Now, you know that very well that Cordillera is also associated with the North American continent where the Rockies have a lot of parallel ranges. You have studied in the previous lecture. Similarly, over here, Andes, we are not saying that the complete Andes is associated with Cordillera, but part of it has an element of Cordillera that is present, that is parallel mountain ranges. That is why when I say the Cordillera word, it will be associated with Rockies as well as Andes both. Obviously, we will be doing the other continents. I'll be explaining the wherever Cordilleras are present, but here, both of them are associated. So these are the things that you should build. Till the time we will complete all the continents, you will be very well aware wherever the Cordilleras are present. Now, the world's longest continental mountain range is close to 7,000 kilometers long. While I'm writing this content, please do draw them along, right? Extends from Venezuela to Chile and Argentina in the south. Now, it is formed due to the Nazca plate subducting beneath the South American plate. In the physical geography lecture, which is going to come, you will see that there's a Nazca plate, right? There is a Nazca plate. This is a minor plate. It is basically subducting under this particular South American plate, and that is basically has led to the rise of this Andes mountain range, right? Formed due to the Nazca plate subducting beneath the South American plate. You won't believe that this Nazca plate has been asked repeatedly in various species examinations and in UPSC also long time ago. They said that Nazca Plate is associated with which particular continent? Once it was asked like this. So it was South America in one of the statements. Second was Nazca Plate is associated with which mountain range? And the answers are Rockies, Andes, Himalayas, Alps, and something like that. So this was a question. Now in that particular case, if you have read this well, it will be very easy for you to mark. You do not have to spend energy on that analyzing it also, right? Similarly, settlement adapted. Now, see, this is the physical geographical aspect. Now we are covering the human aspect also. Settlement adapted to altitude. Terraced agriculture is present because the altitude is there. So obviously people residing over here will be practicing terraced agriculture. Traditional housing and clothing. Now these regions, because these regions are also centers for a lot of important minerals also. So mining activities also go on here. So the minerals that are found here are, this is a mining hub. Copper in Chile. So Chile is famous for copper. Tin in Bolivia, silver in Peru, lithium in Bolivia, Chile and Argentina. Please understand, this lithium place where all these three countries are associated, these are a very important hub for lithium extraction, one of the major hubs. So that is why India has very good relationships with South American countries, because it has to procure lithium also in the future when it is required, because for the batteries or the future batteries are very closely associated with the lithium element, right? So that is why this is something important that you should know. The moment you remember now lithium is found here, you will remember, yes, in South America lithium is found, right? Similarly, recently you saw a few months back in Jammu Kashmir also, you saw that prospectively that there's a potential of lithium being present over there. So these are the things how you connect. Now, once I've told you lithium, copper, you will possibly remember this also in your examination when it is asked. In the prelims, remember, when you are answering the questions in the options that are present, what you have studied, what has been taught to you by the teachers and all, at that particular moment, it all comes in your mind if you have revised it. So if you revise it well, you will be able to answer so many questions. Next, second was the Andes. Now third comes the central lowlands. Now please remember, in this particular map, I had drawn this whole part as central lowland, right? But remember, central lowland is not a single unit as a whole. It is divided into three parts, standard classification. Now let's see that. One part is the Orinoco Basin. Next part is the Amazon Basin. Third is a Parana Basin. Now, these are based on the river systems or the rivers that are associated with these regions, right? So, like the Orinoco River, the Amazon River, and the Parana River. So, now these are the three divisions or the subdivisions of what? The central lowlands. Let us study one by one. This central lowland is composed of larger basins. These are three parts. One is the Amazon Basin. Now, this is the Amazon Basin. Now, the Amazon Basin is again a hot, humid equatorial rainforest. Now, you know that it is famous for, it is like the, these are known as the lungs of the earth because of the amount of oxygen that they produce, right? So, equatorial rainforests are present there. People are basically extracting rubber. The rivers that are flowing over here, hydropower production is done. Along with it, obviously, though it is not allowed, but still you see timber extraction is also done because it is required by the governments. So, timber, rubber extraction, hydropower generation is again some of the important sources over here. Next come Orinoco Basin in the north. This is the Orinoco Basin. It is a tropical savanna. Over here, petroleum resources are found, particularly in these regions. I'll be showing you the minerals over here. If I mark it, possibly you can see petroleum. These are the petroleum resources that are found over here. Very, very important, particularly for the country of Venezuela, right? So, over here, petroleum extraction is done. Now, third is the Parana Basin. Now, this is a humid subtropical with grasslands. Agriculture is basically practiced here, where soya bean and maize are the main agriculture production that is done here. So, these are the central lowlands that you basically studied. Now comes the last part. This was the Eastern Highlands. Now, the Eastern Highland again is not one unit. It is composed of three parts from a standard classification. This is known as the Guiana Highlands, this is known as the Brazilian Highlands, and this is known as the Patagonian Plateau, or Patagonian Highlands also, but more precisely Plateau. So, these plateaus are made up of the old rocks, right? Old igneous metamorphic rocks. And let us understand each one of them in detail. Now, see here. When I talk about the Brazilian Highlands or the Brazilian Plateau in a way, You will say these are approximately 300 to 900 meters high. The length is approximately 800 meters. Tropical and subtropical climate is basically found here. Laterite and red soil are the most common, obviously because there's a lot of rainfall also. Minerals, now this region is rich in minerals also because again highlands plateaus are always associated with minerals. Iron, gold and bauxite are the most important ones. If you see from the perspective of agriculture being practiced, there are certain crops like coffee, sugarcane, cotton and soybean are the ones which are majorly produced over here. So this is the region of the Brazilian highlands and these are the characteristics that are associated with it. So please quickly note it down. I'm giving you 1 minute. Next, Guiana Highlands, 300 to 1200 meter high, tropical rainforest climate, sparsely populated. Now, if and bauxite, gold, diamonds, and iron ore. So these are the Guiana Highlands. So what do you find? 300 to 1200 meters high, tropical rainforest, again sparsely populated because over here you realize that when you come across this region, the rainforest makes it very difficult for the population density to be very high. So that is why tropical rainforest, and these are the minerals that are found: bauxite, gold, diamonds, and iron ore. Next comes the Patagonian Plateau. Now these are again step-like plateaus sloping eastwards. Somewhat like the Deccan Plateau, where the Deccan Trap is used because there are step-like structures. Similarly, over here, this is a step-like structure which is sloping towards the east. 300 to 1500 meters is a height. Cold desert and steppe type of climate. Again, the population is sparse over here. There is no high density of population here. Minerals are oil and natural gas, and pastoral activities are the ones that are done. Nomadism is again practiced here. So these are the Patagonian desert, a Patagonian plateau over here. Now comes the important ranges. We have already done this. These are the Andes range, and these are the Cordilleras: Western Cordillera, Central Cordillera in the Eastern Cordillera, and Cordillera de Merida and Pacarena Mountains. So we have already done this. I had already posted there when we were doing the Andes. So these are the major mountain ranges that you should be well aware of. Then comes the important peaks. Now these are certain peaks which we have been covering in every particular continent. When we are doing every continent, please remember the important peaks become very, very important. Out of these only the questions are generally asked. So I have mentioned the countries also along because there is great possibility that when they ask a peak, they can associate it with a country and mention and match and tell you to match them. See here, over here is Mount Bolivar. It is associated with the country known as Venezuela. If you move further towards the Andes, you will say Mount Cotopaxi, and below that is Mount Chimborazo. They both are present in Ecuador, and both of them have been multiple times asked in your civil services examination. Then comes in Peru, that is Mount Corapuna. Then you further come south is Mount Pisces, that is in Argentina. Then you come further south is Mount Aconcagua. It is in Argentina. It is the tallest mountain in South America. Then is Mount Turumgato. It is again in Argentina. So these are the important mountain peaks. Pause the video, note it down. The reason behind it is that out of these only they will be asking you. Next comes the major rivers. Now see, there are a lot of rivers in South America. I have marked the important ones because these are the ones that you should be aware of, right? The most important being obviously the Amazon River. If you go to the north, you will see the river Orinoco. Again, you saw the Orinoco Basin associated with it. Then in the north further, you have the river Magdalena. If you come south, you had already studied the Paraná Basin. So please remember, it is also known as Paraná-Paraguay Basin. So it is basically associated with the rivers that are present here. So this is the Paraná River. This is the Paraguay River, and this is the Uruguay River. Obviously, again, the countries are also having the name Uruguay and Paraguay. So these are the rivers also. Then over the south over here, you have the river Negro. Then you have the river Colorado. And there is another river that is joining Colorado, that is Salado. So these are the important rivers that you should be aware of. So please wait, pause the video, mark them quickly. Next comes the lakes and the water bodies. Let us see the lakes first of all. If you go to the north of South America, you will see an important lake, that is Lake Maracaibo, which is in Venezuela. If you come little south, you will see there is again, this lake has been again asked multiple times in your civil services. That is Lake Titicaca. It is basically not associated only with one country. It is associated with two countries. And that is why it becomes important for UPSC, because they try to mention the names of the countries. It is associated with all countries. So it is associated with Bolivia and Peru both. Some of it is in Bolivia, some of it is in Peru. Then Lake Pupu, it is in Bolivia only. So these are the important internal lakes. If I move outside, you will see this region is basically what the Pacific Ocean, and this region is what is the Atlantic Ocean. Over here lies the Gulf of Panama. If I come further south, you will have the Gulf of Guayaquil. Over here are the Galapagos Island. The Galapagos Island becomes very important because of the analysis that was done by Charles Darwin over here with respect to what is known as Darwin's Peaks also. So this island again becomes very, very important. Clear? Over here are the Gulf of Penis. Then if you come towards the eastern side, you have the Blanca Bay. You have the Grande Bay further south, and then you have the Magellan Strait. Magellan Strait is important because it basically connects the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean. So you can be asked which among the following straits is basically connecting the Pacific and the Atlantic Ocean. It is the Magellan Strait. This is again an important question. Let's move ahead. Desert. Now these are few important deserts. Over here you have the Secura Desert. If you come south, there is an Atacama Desert, a very famous desert. Now it is the driest place on earth. If you move south, you have the Monte Desert, and further is the Patagonian Desert, again located on the Patagonian Plateau. It is the largest area-wise in South America. If you ask which is the largest area-wise desert in South America, it is the Patagonian Desert. So these are the 4 major deserts of South America, right? Please note it down. Next comes the vegetation. Now, if you see the vegetation, again, we will be doing the types and the in detail when we will be doing the topic of vegetation, climatology and all in the physical geography part. Meanwhile, let us see them. Over here, this is the rainforest region. You know that very well. Amazon basin is associated here. So this is a rainforest region. Along with the Andes, because of the height, they have an alpine vegetation. Along the coastal strip, you have the deciduous forest. This is the savanna region. You have the Mediterranean climate, Mediterranean vegetation over here. And these are the grasslands. And this region along the Patagonian plateau are basically the desert. So largest area-wise desert. So this is the vegetation that is present here. Comes the minerals. Now a lot of minerals are found here. Large number in large quantities. But the thing over here is, please remember, when you study in this particular region, you will be seeing certain important, like the petroleum is found over here. That is why Venezuela is a very important producer of petroleum. You have aluminium, Al. Then you have iron that is basically distributed in the form of Fe that I mentioned. Au, ioric, that is gold. Then you have copper along with it. And again, you have in this region is also you have the lithium. Lithium is also present here. So these are the important things or the minerals that are present here, right? Now, one thing important, another section that I've introduced, please remember there are 2 guidelines for this. All those who are watching this lecture completely, please note this. You have to read this. I'm not giving the answers right now. I'm going to read the questions in front of you. I want the answers. There are 5 questions. I want the answers of all these 5 questions in the comment section. I will be giving the answers myself after few hours. Now see, there are 2 guidelines. Post your answers in the comment section below. And answers will be posted by me 24 hours post the video is made public. So 24 hours after the video has been published or it is available to you, I will post the answers. Meanwhile, you all have to mention the answers to the question that I've asked. A brief idea. Now see here. Just pause the video over here. Which of the following South American countries are landlocked? You saw the map. The question is Paraguay, Bolivia, Uruguay, Ecuador. It says only 1 and 2, 1, 2, 3, 2 and 4, 1 and 4. It is up to you now. You have to analyze the map and give me the answer. This is the first question. Pause the video. Answer it. Next question. Match the following. Brazilian Highlands, Guiana Highlands, Patagonian, Venezuela, Argentina, Brazil. You have to match them. This is the second question. Pause the video and present your answers in the comment section. Amazon River flows mainly through Peru, Ecuador, Brazil, Colombia, third Brazil, Peru and parts of Bolivia, Argentina and Paraguay. An easy question. Try it. Answer in the comment section. Pause the video if you haven't read it. Andes Mountains are mainly a result of continental collision between South American and African plate. Why I've asked this question is because we have already, there is a physical geography video and I have already presented this view completely. You can see the video and you can answer that also. So I told in that video also that the map will be done, mapping series will be done separately, and obviously these things have already been done in there. Subduction of the Nazca plate beneath the South American plate. I've answered the question in a way, you can just analyze it. transform fault movement along the Pacific margin, Rift Valley formation due to the crustal stretching. This is the fourth. Pause the video and answer. Atacama Desert is one of the driest places on earth, located because rain shadow effect of the Andes, influence of the cold Humboldt, C means both of them, and D high altitude and altitude. Easy question, try it. Which of the following countries of the South America lies entirely along the Pacific Ring of Fire? Argentina, Peru, Brazil, and Paraguay. Pause the video, check it for yourself, and see if you can manage it. So this was a lecture of the South American continent. Hopefully you enjoyed it. We'll be coming with the African continent next week. So we have already covered so many continents. I think this is the fourth lecture that we have covered. 3 continents are left, Africa, Asia, and Europe. So in the next coming 3 weeks, these continental series will be over. Meanwhile, keep on revising them. Along with it, the physical geography series is going on. So please watch those videos very carefully and make the notes out of it. If you use it, you will be benefiting. Please remember that these videos are for you. Just for the sake that, okay, we will see the video later on, we will do it later on, these things come, that basically leads to lethargy, and later on you will be never able to cover it. So please, as the videos are coming, cover it, make your notes, and move towards achieving your goal of being a civil servant. Take care and Jai Hind.